Good morning, good day, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm Peel Stewart. This is a very, very special episode of Six Elementals. I have one of my absolute favorite people in the community with me tonight, someone I consider a dear friend. He is, you can say international man of mystery, but not so mysterious in that. I mean, the man just does everything, right? He just does everything. Just name your aspect of the Bush community. He's got it covered. From cover design, I have to offer him formal congratulations somewhere in this broadcast because now he's taken on a leadership role with Grimdark Magazine. So welcome to the Grimdark family. Of course, SFF Addicts. Like, listen, this man is just. But what we really want to focus on, and we're going to talk about other things, but this guy is an absolutely stunning writer. I read Mushroom Blues this year. I was honored by a review copy. I was absolutely blown away. I think this book was almost made for me. Adrian knows me well.
Yeah.
And you give me a flawed protagonist that's done exceptionally well, I'm in love. But beyond that, I got to tell you, the world building in this thing, I mean, it's trippy, it's fungal, and we're going to talk a lot about fungal tonight.
Yeah.
It is confronting. It's going to make you uncomfortable in all the good ways. It's just amazing. In contention for my book of the year. One of the books that's in contention for my book of the year. I was just absolutely gobsmacked at how
good. We're not even 2 minutes in, and you're just like showering with compliments.
Dude, I have to say this one until I have it as bad. However, we're also here to talk about another book in this universe that Abe just got out. A Murder Most Fungal. The one we got up, a little logo up on the screen there.
This little guy right here.
Yeah. So anyways, welcome, Adrian. Welcome to Six Elementals.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You're just like all the praise. But hey, man, I adore you. I'm happy to be here. I always love chatting with you. I love hanging out with you in person because we've had the chance the last couple of years to see each other in person a few times. And me and Scott Palmer always sing your praises. We're like each other's accountability buddies. And he'll just be like, yeah, me and Paul are just like, doing a con this weekend or like doing an event or something like that. He's, his wife's bringing us sandwiches. It's like, oh man, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, so, he's awesome too. But yeah, obviously I love you, man. You're so awesome. Adrian, I gotta talk to you about this book. Yeah. This book, my friend. Like, wow, your first novel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Blew up, SPFBO finalist, almost won. Really
tied for first place.
Yeah,
lost in tiebreaker to get second, which I'm still super, super happy about. Yeah.
I mean, for a first novel to reach these heights and for you to send so quickly, thousands of reviews, thousands, dozens of nominations for awards and awards, critical acclaim, great sales. You are a very slick marketer, but that's not why this book is doing so well. This book is doing so well because it is such an incredible book.
Thanks, man.
I feel like I almost want to say, like, the fact that this book has done so well and it takes such a huge risk is probably one of the reasons I admire you the most, because again, I know all about writing unlikable protagonists.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, like, you talking about unlikable protagonists, I'm just like, let's sit on the Drowned Kingdom books for a minute and just like conversations about colonialism and things like that. It's like, yeah, this is definitely a PL book.
Bro, so what made you take that risk with Miss Hoffman to make her this flawed, bigoted, racist? Her worldviews are terrible. What made you take the risk to write that way? Obviously,
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think there was a point where I was just like, I'm choosing to take a risk here. It was just like, this is the story that I wanted to tell. And pretty much I wasn't going into publishing that book, like I put a lot into it, obviously, in terms of like the story itself, the cover and the design and the way it looks and all that. I was very intentional about all those things. But publishing that book wasn't necessarily me saying like I'm going to be a full-time author with this book, or like I wasn't like 100% set on I'm starting a new career now kind of thing. It's like I'm a full-time dad and that is my primary thing, and anything else is just a creative tangent essentially. But now the writing has become like a creative side gig as opposed to a tangent because of the way things have gone. And so I didn't necessarily go into it being super, self-conscious about, is this a risk? Are people going to like, hate my book because of this character, or potentially love my book because of this character? It was one of those things where it's just like, I wrote the story that I wanted to tell, and that was the character, the vehicle through which this story needed to be told. And she's a difficult character. She's racist. She's mycophobic in a city full of fungal people, and like literally like a fungal city where the environment itself is like alive and everything like that. And have her, essentially confronting her phobia and her discrimination, her racism, and all those things through the lens of a really brutal murder mystery. So I didn't necessarily like, I wouldn't say that Henrietta as a protagonist, as a flawed, unlikable protagonist, isn't even like the main risk that I took. I think like everything about it, the fact that I wrote a book about like mushroom people, and the fact that I had so much goddamn trouble trying to define like what genre this thing actually is, that when I started like prepping my book to upload to Amazon and everything like that, I'm like, I don't know what genres to pick or anything like that. So a lot of it was, this is the story that felt right to me. These are the things that I want to explore, and the themes that I want to dive deep into, and all of it through the lens of Henrietta, but also in relation to the other characters that she meets. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that I was thinking about risk at all. Like the whole book, I think, as an entire, narrative entity, is kind of a risky endeavor. But I think things like The Last of Us and other more like mainstream presentations of fungus through the lens of like fantasy or body horror or zombies or whatever it may be, kind of prep people a little bit. So the zeitgeist was like just primed enough for this book when it hit. And I think now, you can see the frequency of fungal books across SFF and horror kind of growing and growing year by year, which is amazing to see. So it's like the zeitgeist is definitely catching on to that. I think I just hit it at the right time, despite the fact that I wrote a really challenging and really weird book, if that makes sense.
Wow. And sorry, quick shout out. Hey, thanks for coming out. Zero,
Hi.
Naku,
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for checking out Adrian and Six Elementals. But Adrian, like, I mean, it was so well written. It felt like, for me, and I know like you'd mentioned about marketing, how do I market this book? It's unlike, well, it felt like to me, okay, True Detective meets like something in a cross between, and I'm gonna like, I think, again, because the themes of colonialism and the war themes, and the themes of indigenous cultural, essentially almost genocide, and like, but yet crime noir, and yet like just, but I think, forget about it, the originality of this book. I know you said, okay, fungal has been done, and now perhaps because of you leading the charges more and more.
No, I don't think it's necessarily just me, but like, I don't know, like I saw a video game announcement. Have you ever heard of I need to check this out. Keep talking and I'll think of it. But there was like there's a video game series called Citizen Sleeper, and the creator of that put out a trailer for his newest game, and he used the term fungal punk, and I was like, dude, what the hell?
Wow.
Which was like a huge part of like my marketing was the term fungal punk. And I just like, I love that is becoming a thing, you know, like even if you didn't hear it from me, the fact that it's like two people on two separate continents in the world creating, you know, these creative projects in completely different mediums, both landing on the term fungal punk, is absolutely wild to me, and kind of just like, you know, kind of feeds into that feeling that like there is like a greater kind of consciousness out there that connects us all, you know, getting into like a little bit of like a spiritual mentality, and kind of the stuff that I infused into the fungal peoples themselves, where it's like they are connected to a greater natural consciousness, and therefore, you know, the ways in which ideas permeate, the ways in which you know, certain religious beliefs or cultural beliefs or societal beliefs are able to kind of spread across a group of people and settle into something that they all feel is sustainable and symbiotic with them, but also them in relation to their environment and everything around them. So
Yeah, and it's so, and I mean, I thought at first, I remember reading it and subconsciously feeling like, how come, and I like mushrooms, I like fungal things. Why don't I feel, why don't I feel overwrought about how pervasive it is in every aspect of the story, from the people themselves
yeah,
to the food to like everything essentially, almost like 70% of what I read had to do directly with something fungal. And I thought, but when I was reading, I was totally immersed. I'm, you know, I'm burning through the pages. I can't stop reading, and I'm just like, there's a point in the book, maybe like 7%. I stopped. I said, why don't I feel this is overdone? Why don't I feel this is like? I mean, because you know, it is so in your face. It's so, but I loved it, and that's a credit to you as a writer, of course. But I actually expected that I would be more like, okay, enough fungal stuff now. But I wasn't. I didn't feel that way at all. And
I
I
mean, that's a good thing. There are some readers who felt that way, and it's just like that's totally fine, you know. And there are readers of any story, you know, who will, like, someone reads like The Wheel of Time, and they'll be like, you know, enough Robert Jordan with like X, Y, or Z kind of description, or, you know, the way in which he writes female characters or something along those lines, right? Every story has the opportunity to do that to people. But my goal was always like, I want to infuse mushrooms into this story in such a way where it's like, you know, Jonathan, our friend Jonathan Navarre put it really well, where he was like, it's like you'd like microdose world building in a way, where it's like, I'm never just like bashing you over the head with heavy exposition. All the world building is done very sort of, you know, in a subtle way, infused into dialogue, infused into description, infused into the way the character perceives the world, such that you don't always realize that it's happening. But I'm slowly, and this is why I love genre blending, dude, because I was using so for Mushroom Blues, I used police procedural and murder mystery and noir sort of as like these genre frameworks to root people in something familiar. And then in A Murder Most Fungal, I used crime thrillers. You know, like something akin to like Martin Scorsese movies, or like Hong Kong crime thrillers and like action movies and things along those lines. So these frameworks that people are familiar with, and then they can kind of like latch on to, okay, I kind of know what to expect now, and that pulls them through the story. Meanwhile, I'm just like ratcheting up the amount of like weird and the intensity of the world building and the degree to which the world is like becoming more present and more oppressive over the course of the story, right? So it's like the beginning is a bit more of like a slow drip, and then as things pick up, you know, which is maybe why like at 70% you're like, oh my god, what's going on here? That intensity and the degree to which things get like more weird, more horrific, or in some cases like even like more kind of like wondrous and a little bit more like fantastical, that definitely like picks up in like an exponential curve, utilizing that familiar framework to allow me to give readers heavier and heavier doses of the unfamiliar.
And I tell you, and again, pardon the pun, organic. Yeah, I
Yep.
totally agree. The world building was completely organic. It was, but yet, you know, you have some of the aspects I love. I mean, I try to not give away some words here. The way the fungal network works, that was wild. Okay, that was wild.
Yeah.
Everything felt so earthy. Again, I'm using these words.
Just use whatever words you want, man. No one's gonna judge
puns, but also quirky and fascinating, and like the religion, like it was just. I just think it's one of the most unique worlds and kind of quasi magic system like anywhere. I just think it's just you know, clearly I saw the Japanese influences, the fungal people themselves were so, and they weren't flat one dimensional, just like, you know, underdogs, right?
Mhm.
You know, these were like really dynamic characters, and you know, their what they were going through with the oppression and everything. It was just like I said, I'm rambling, my friend, but just know that it was addictive. I was just totally immersed. The buddy cop stuff was great, you know, and just all of the like let's talk about the action scenes. Like there's a there's gunfights, there's car chases, there's
Yeah, yeah.
like there's all kinds of crazy stuff here, right? Assassination attempts, political assassination attempts, like it's
Yeah.
nuts, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, like at the base of it, you know, we were talking to Sunyi Dean recently on our podcast, SFF Addicts, about she did her masterclass on writing for the reader experience. And it really hit home for me because like when she suggested that topic, I was like elaborate, what are you thinking? You know, how do you want to approach this kind of thing? And the way that she described it, in terms of, you know, she's very intentional about, a lot of it comes down to intentionality of like, I want the reader, you know, this is a book that they spend money on and I want them to be entertained. And so for me, it's kind of like, you know, approaching it from these two pillars of like, one hand there's emotion and then another there's entertainment. And if I can nail those two things and like find a nice balance between them, then I'm providing a very enjoyable experience, regardless if it's like this is really heavy and oppressive and there's a lot of dark themes and things that are being explored. If the reader comes through that experience and says like, I enjoyed that was like a really good book, is like, you know, even better if it's like, that was a very thought-provoking book, that was something that really played with my emotions in ways that got me thinking about things, then that for me is super successful. That is a successful story, because, you know, when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, I'm giving you a murder mystery, but like, of course I'm going to give you a car chase. Like I'm going to give you a really messed up like interrogation scene. I'm going to give
Oh yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know, I'm going to give you gangsters. I'm going to give you like assassination attempts and stuff like this. And it's because, yes, at its core, this is a murder mystery, but I'm looking at like, what are these beats of like a murder mystery or like noir or like kind of, you know, crime action movies and stuff like that I really like and think could make for a good story that hits those expectations, but then I'm able to like amplify them through the fungal people and like the world building and the things that the fungals are able to achieve with their like innate powers and everything like that. And at the same time, kind of like infuse that world building, infuse those thematic discussions in ways that don't feel heavy handed or preachy. And, you know, you can deliver a really entertaining story, you know, and it's the same thing I did. Like, this is exactly my approach for A Murder Most Fungal, was like, I want to give you an entertaining story. It's going to be like, you're reading like, you know, a Hong Kong action movie, but from the perspective of like a mushroom person who's a chef. And, you know, so much of it is centered around food. So there's like another aspect to the world building that it's like, okay, there was like glimpses at the food and mushroom blues, but here I'm actually in the perspective of a chef and I'm able to like dive deep into that stuff and the ways in which the fungal people A, how they cook and how they eat, B, how they think about food, how religion and spirituality is brought into their culinary practice, the types of ingredients that they use, what that says about the geography, what that says about the culture, the things they have access to, all this kind of stuff. But at the core of it, it's like, yeah, there's gangsters and they blackmail a chef into assassinating somebody. And that's the plot. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, this is like, yeah, it's like, there's The Bear. If anyone has ever seen that show, there's like the drama of The Bear, where it's like, okay, we have a bunch of fungal chefs in a kitchen, and they're essentially like indentured servants, kind of slaves for Duncan MacArthur, who's the leader of the human occupation. So he's like the leader of the military, and the military is occupying this fungal nation after a war. And so these chefs are essentially feeding the leader of the army that is subjugating their own people. And so that in and of itself is a really tense kind of thematic exploration, where it's like, okay, how do all these chefs feel going into the kitchen every day? Do some of them feel differently? And the main character, Pocho Jiro, is kind of coming at it from the perspective of like, we all just suffered like 10 years of a war. And on top of that, our people are starving, there are like food shortages, there's destitution, there's a lot of destruction from the war itself, and things that haven't been cleaned up, things that haven't been rebuilt and whatnot. I'm providing you an opportunity to like feed yourself and feed your families and that kind of thing, right? So he's thinking about it from like a survival perspective, and the ability to provide for his chefs and them providing for themselves and their families. But for them, it's like, that's not the point, right? Like, would I rather starve and fight back against the person who is oppressing me, or would I rather feed them in order to be able to feed myself and the people I love, right? So it's a really interesting dilemma. But then you add on top of that, it's like, these fungal gangsters come in and blackmail the head chef, Pocho, and essentially say like, hey, we're gonna kill your sister, or you're going to kill the leader of the human occupation. And it's just like this very clear like dynamic that he has to deal with for the rest of the novel. And that kind of brings about, okay, we've got these kitchen elements of The Bear, but then you've got these Hong Kong kind of crime thriller elements. There are like a couple of Scorsese films that I really love and pulled from for this one too, where it was like, I absolutely love Goodfellas.
Oh yeah.
I love Casino. Like Mean Streets, Raging Bulls, where there's these really complicated characters. You can clearly tell I like challenging protagonists and unlikable protagonists, right? But then I also kind of infused, there's this one movie that Scorsese directed called The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio. And it's basically, it's like this obsessive genius who is like an engineer, and he's building planes and designing planes and stuff like that, but he is so obsessed that his entire, it's fantastic, man, like his entire world just falls apart because of his obsession. And so it's like, here we have this chef who's so obsessed with food that he's essentially blinding himself and creating this like tunnel vision of like, here's my purpose, here are the people I'm trying to take care of and everything like that. Meanwhile, like his decisions are just causing this like cascade of collateral damage around him, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I can deliver a story that is dealing with like multiple things at the same time, and you can be challenged by the complexity of this character and his choices. You can also be confronted with the fact that like none of his choices are good, right? And so what would you yourself do in that particular situation? And then at the same time provide a story that is like filled with delicious descriptions of food, also body horror, also like really tense action scenes, and really kind of like mostly on like the fueled by the gangsters and stuff like that. So it's like, stories don't have to be so one-dimensional. You can add a lot of layers to it and make it thought-provoking for your readers, all the while just like make it fun as hell.
Oh wow! And I can't wait to read that. Thank you so much again for sending me your arc as that as well. I just haven't got to it yet, but wow, for sure I will definitely be reading that. I'm so excited. After reading this, I'm like, I have to read everything this man writes. And you talk about choices though, but even pulling on some of those threads that you broached in this book, because the fungal people, it's complicated. Their situation as being subjugated is complicated,
Mhm.
right? You have people
Yep.
who are just actively resisting in a
Mhm.
much more direct, guerrilla style, way. You have people who are underground trying to, and again, I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but you have people who are underground who they have a different mindset and mandate approach to it. You
Mhm.
have people who, again, unscrupulous people, gangsters who, are trying to take advantage, preying upon their own fungal people, and
Mhm.
the opposing colonizers. And you have everything in between. People who are just trying to survive, just peacefully
Yeah.
go about their business, trying to survive, just trying to like get through the next day, and the
Mhm.
food shortages and all the issues that they deal with. And then you have, and I think what I loved about this book especially, and can't wait to see how this plays out in Resmo's Fungal. You have characters who, you have a rare character here who is basically essentially one of the first, or if not the first, correct me if I'm wrong, fungal police officer.
Mhm.
That is,
Yep.
part of, essentially the apparatus and the machine that is oppressing fungal people, and he's seen as a sellout by his own people, and yet he feels he's trying to do good because if they don't have anyone fungal on the police service, then they can't. He from the inside is hoping to affect change and protect his people in a certain
Mhm.
way, right? So I mean, you have all these dynamics with the fungal people that everyone is approaching survival and how best to navigate this new reality of subjugation in all these unique ways. And I can't wait to see how that happens through food. And quickly,
Yeah.
one things I want to say about food is that I can't lie to you, what surprised me in terms of world building, and it was awesome, was that it wasn't cannibalism, but the fungal people eat fungal stuff too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that actually surprised me, right? That they would eat, because that's part of them and everything
Yeah.
around them. But they also,
And this kind of stemmed from conversations with friends. I mean, it kind of started as like an in joke with FanFiAddict, the blog that I'm a part of, where it's like there's just like this running joke of like, is this cannibalism? Like if you eat a mermaid or something like that, right? And so it's like I had to like throw in cannibalism as like a reference for my friends over there. But it actually kind of became a really poignant moment because it was like, yeah, is it cannibalism though? Because the fungal people themselves kind of view it from like a spiritual perspective where it's like they understand their part, like the existence of their corporeal form and their spirit, their consciousness within it will eventually go back to the earth and will then feed the next cycle, right? It's like this kind of cyclical spiritual perspective. And when it comes to like eating other fungi, it's not like they're going to like eat another fungal person, but they like, imagine on like if your kitchen is made out of, mushrooms and stuff, and you have like your own little mini like mushroom farm, mushroom garden in your kitchen, and then you eat those mushrooms. It's kind of like those mushrooms are part of the greater whole, and therefore you consuming them is you consuming something with the intention that it is feeding back into the greater whole. It is feeding back into the cycle of life and death, right? And so it's kind of like their whole spiritual practice is based around, essentially decomposition and rejuvenation. And so the act of like eating another mushroom, even though it's just like it's not a full mushroom person, but it's just like a single mushroom, like what we would eat kind of thing, that is not seen as like an act of cannibalism for them. It's seen as an extension of their very being and an extension of the greater natural whole and the natural cycles of life, right? And so for me it was like, oh, this is like this in joke ended up becoming something like really fascinating and spiritual to explore through the lens of these fungal people and their religion. And there are lots of things that I was able to do with that in Mushroom Blues. And then in a Murder Most Fungal, because I'm like actually in the head and cap of like a fungal person, you know, like the main character is a fungal person, I was able to explore so many different things. I mean, you mentioned the fungal network earlier, the way that they communicate. And I liken this, like that idea came from cyberpunk, and is basically like, what if I was able to create like a biological form of like brain to brain communication? The same way that in cyberpunk you have, you know, implants and different kinds of things like that in order to allow people to communicate with each other non-verbally. And so I was like, I gave that to my fungal people through this. Basically, like they exist in this natural environment, and that environment is made out of mycelium and mushrooms, and they're connected to that mycelium. They're made of that mycelium, and so they're able to kind of like send chemical signals out into the environment and to each other, and use that as like a form of brain to brain communication. And so they can send thoughts to each other, they can emote to each other, they can kind of evoke their desires and their intentions and stuff like that. But then like social media, you can actually like block people and be like, yo, I don't want you to see what I'm thinking about, and just you know. Yeah, exactly, dude. And so there's like a lot of complexity there even, and I was able to explore that, you know, from the perspective of a fungal person. Not only just one, but it was like, here's a fungal chef who's leading a kitchen of like 6 people, and all of them having a conversation with each other, but nobody's actually speaking words out loud, right?
That is absolutely.
It's just like, to me, it created these like multi-tiered kind of communication channels in a single scene, where it was like, you know, there's one scene early on in A Murder Most Fungal where the chef has to go to a market to meet a gangster, and basically he's like having an outward verbal conversation with this gangster to make it seem as if he's trying to buy seafood from a vendor, right? Because he has like a military escort with him, and the escort is basically like, you know, people around them could hear the escort might like pick up on a few words, kind of thing. So he's having this outward conversation that's like, I want to buy like spider crab legs from you. And then, you know, they're keeping up this conversation, but simultaneously they're also having a brain to brain conversation, cap to cap conversation with each other, where the gangster is like threatening him and saying like, I'm going to kill your sister if you don't do this for us, basically. And so I'm able to have these like simultaneous conversations where it was like, outwardly he's trying to portray himself this way, inwardly he's trying to deal with this like threat that's coming at him, right? This like private conversation that he's having through the fungal net. And so it created these really interesting dynamics where I was able to like utilize the fungal people and their powers for really interesting sort of spins on scenes that felt familiar, similar to what I did in Mushroom Blues. But this time you actually got to feel it, as opposed to just witnessing it through Henrietta's eyes. This time you felt it through Pocho's mind, and you felt like, this is what it feels like to be a fungal person and absorb this information in this particular way, right? Or to communicate in this particular way, or to literally have like mycelium extend from your fingers and like crazy shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So it was just really cool for me to, you know, just like the cannibalism starting as like an in joke, you know, me thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a biological cyberpunky kind of brain to brain communications network? And then that became the fungal net, and it has just like expanded far beyond what I imagined it could be, and has opened up a ton of narrative possibilities that for me are just like, okay, this scene would have been like good, but because of what I'm able to do with this particular character, and the fact that he's fungal, and the fact that they're able to do these sorts of things, has just like elevates this scene above what it originally was.
Wow, absolutely incredible. I want to quickly get to a few comments there. The brilliant Matt Scarfield. Matt,
Hi,
thanks so
Mac.
much for stopping by. One of the smartest people out there in the community. This man is a wealth of knowledge on many subjects, especially with the perspective he brings. So, Mac, thanks for.
I love the use of emojis too.
Oh yeah,
we got Drowned Kingdom.
yeah,
Yeah, we got Drowned Kingdom and
mushrooms.
Mushroom Detective. Yeah,
That also, yeah, Mac is fabulous with the emojis. He's got
with the
emoji
emojis.
game
Yeah.
is wicked, man. So, yeah. But he says, "Greetings, excited to get the mushroom blues. You will not be disappointed in that. Such a fabulous book. Again, contention for my book of the year." And it says, "Get to Drunk Kingdom." Yeah, I know you had Drunk Kingdom on TBR for a while, so I'm honored that you're planning to get to it. I hope you enjoy both of those books. So,
yeah,
and then
thank you.
we got another fabulous author,
Joey Byrne. How you doing, buddy?
Wow, just JCM. I mean, the whole Hybrid Helix series. I mean, I think I'm just gonna have to. But he keeps publishing books, so I don't know if I'll ever catch up. Like I read the.
Yeah, damn you, Joe, for being so prolific.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. I'll probably just have to buy the whole thing he's done and just.
Hey, it's coming out in audiobook, man. You can get those audiobooks in there as well.
Yeah, but fabulous, superhero, space bear. I mean, it's just his stuff is just awesome, and just one of the most fun things I've read out there. And that's saying a lot in the indie sphere, but still one of the most fun and yet compelling and deep books that, just a lot of fun. So always great to see you. And Joe's just such a wonderful.
Love you, Joe.
Love you, brother. Always great to see you. No, and again, like I know I got to talk to you for 3 hours, but
he says he's procrastinating book 9.
Bro, man, we all envy.
Slow down, bro. Slow down.
We all envy how prolific you are, Joe. You're just a machine. So good for you.
God damn it.
But yeah, like obviously I could talk for 3 hours, but I want to make sure I cover especially some details about Emermos Fungal. Is it out? When is it coming out? What's going on with that book?
So, I mean, we're here on June 13th. It's out on Tuesday, June 16th. So it's out super soon, man. So it's going to be out in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. And I put a lot of effort into like the design of things. And I mean, we talked about me and my book design and stuff like that. And I think this one, like I'm happier with this one than everything I was able to achieve with Mushroom Blues. Because like the design is, I think there's like over 30 like hand-drawn illustrations inside that I did, and there's like, I mean, I went really deep into the food side of things, where it's like the main character is like essentially a sushi chef. So I gave you a glossary the same way I did in Mushroom Blues of like in-world terms, and there's kitchen, but like I added kitchen slang in there and things along those lines. I have like my own secondary language, like the Japanese people have their own language. Taylor's here too.
Oh,
hi,
Taylor. Oh, miss you, my friend. Thank you.
So I have that glossary, and I added elements to it, terminology and things along those lines. But the pages that immediately follow that is like, one of the first dishes that Pocho is creating in the first chapter is fungal fin tuna. He's essentially creating like, dishes of different variations of like sort of a sashimi style dish and nigiri and things along those lines. And I included like a diagram of like, here's what a fungal fin tuna looks like, and these are the different cuts. And this is like the most prized meat in the entire fish, and like all kinds of shit like that. And then right next to that is like, hand-drawn illustrations of different types of sushi. And so there's like the different cuts and everything like that. There's there's like rolls with rice, there's rice balls and all kinds of different things on there. And throughout the whole book, I have all these illustrations of in-world food, whether it's like there's like a fungal tipped prawn where it's like its antenna have like mushrooms on the end. So there's like even in-world animals. there's even like in-world animals and stuff like that are also similar to the humans, like have become symbiotically merged with fungi. And I have like illustrations of that all the way throughout. And I basically designed the book to like, at least the opening and like the front and back content to look like a restaurant menu. So it's like I went all out with this book, and I'm super, super happy with it. And I'm really excited for it to finally come out. And I'm just kind of amazed that people are like, hell yeah, give me a book about like, a crime thriller with a fungal chef, which to me is like, I took a risk with Mushroom Blues. This one I feel like is probably even like a bigger risk, because it's, you know, I don't know that many books. I know like a handful that have food as like its core element, right? At least within like the SFF space. Obviously, like, you know, just like general fiction and things like that is a different story. But, you know, I think I did a good enough job of kind of like framing it as a crime thriller, framing it as a tragedy. I call it a Michelin star tragedy in 6 courses. I even created like a 6-course menu for the book. So you go through all the different parts, and basically you start the book. You start with the first course. That's sort of like a sampler. You get a little taste of somake, which is like the in-world equivalent of like Japanese sake. And then, you know, you read through a few chapters, and always before the next course, I give you a palate cleanser, which is like a flashback chapter to Pocho's past, and showing you like a little bit of how he became the person that he is. And then you start the second course, and then you go through again, have a palate cleanser, start the third course, and then all the way to the end. Yeah.
Oh my God. Sounds incredible. I have to quickly give a huge shout out to Taylor from Through the Pages. Dear friend of both of ours, obviously.
Yes.
We miss you lots, Taylor. We love you. Hope you're doing well. Check out Taylor's channel. She's a wonderful booktuber herself. Especially, we're talking about Japanese influence, and as Adrian knows, Taylor spent quite some time living.
A lot of time in Japan.
Watch her vlogs on Japan. You will fall in love, and she does them so well. She'll just make you want to pick up a movie. You'll be like, I'm picking up a movie to Japan after you watch. And of course, my incredible partner from Page doing the interview series.
Yeah.
Taylor is simply one of the most wonderful people out there. And of course, if you watch our interviews, she's one of the best interviewers out there. So I've learned so much.
She's very good
in that respects.
Love you, Tay.
Always great to see you, Taylor. Okay, so much to cover. So being in from Emergence Fungal and all the amazing stuff you've done in terms of the covers and the illustrations, and of course I saw tons of that here as well. People may not realize that you are quite the incredible cover design artist, and that you have your own business doing that. So can you talk a little bit about that element of what you're doing? I said this man has fingers in there.
Yeah. I can give a little bit of background too, because like actually before I ever got into design, Mushroom Blues is the first book that I ever designed. So it was kind of like, I don't know, like I have a background in Taylor. Stop.
Never too much, Taylor.
I have a background in illustration and graphic design. I was also a tattoo artist for 7 years professionally, and kind of came into the book design thing strictly through the need to do it for Mushroom Blues. So I was basically like, okay, I have this book here, and how do I turn it into a book? And so it was like, you know, obviously I got the art from Felix Ortiz, which I'm really happy with and absolutely love. But I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna give, you know, cover design a go and design the cover for it. So that was my first time doing cover design. And I was like, I need to like design the interior of this book. So I taught myself how to use Adobe InDesign and formatted the entire interior of the book too. From, you know, like the actual typesetting, which is, Taylor's got one of my tattoos.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love doing that one. So I figured out like, okay, this is how I do like the typesetting, which is like the actual text and how it appears on the page. But then I was like, okay, well, like nobody's stopping me, so I'm gonna add graphics to this and like all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I'm gonna, you know, I mean, I commissioned this art, but like I decided to put them into the interior, you know. But then I also drew my own map of Neo Kanoko. So this is the map that I designed, and then, you know, just like all the opening pages are filled with like crazy mushroom graphics and stuff like that. So basically I was like, well, I'm not traditionally published, I'm indie, so I can do whatever the hell I want. And I did. And basically like use Mushroom Blues as a launching pad to be like, okay, you know, if friends ever need help with this kind of stuff, I'll help them out with it. And then eventually, you know, I just started like accruing experience by helping out friends. And then last year in the summer, my co-host on SFF Addicts, MJ Kuhn, was just like, dude, just launch a business for it, like make money off of this thing. And so so in August of last year, basically I came back from Worldcon in Seattle, and then did like a soft launch of my book design business, which is essentially like freelance, doing cover typography. Authors would like give me their cover art, and then I'll design the cover for them, and then designing the entire interior from scratch and everything like that. And just kind of basically delivering to people like, here are the files that you need to upload to Ingram Spark or upload to Amazon KDP to make your book an actual book, right? And my mentality was always like, I want the files that I give you to be the files that Amazon will give you like no issues with. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to just like drop this into Amazon and be like, cool, approved. Now I can print a proof of your book, kind of thing. So I launched in August, and since then have done about like 20 different projects so far. Yeah. So it's like either like interiors. I've done like quite a bit of interior work for Kickstarters. So like Chamois Stovall, SL Roland, did some Kickstarter stuff for them, Duncan M. Hamilton. Also doing like entire book design. Like I did MJ's cyberpunk book, Kill Switch Protocol. Basically, like she gave me the cover art, but like I actually got her in touch with the cover artist, and then we went through the whole process together. Same with Michael Vadney for his debut Crownfall. So we just went from like top to bottom, like, here's everything you need. Like, I'm going to make your book a reality, kind of thing. And then I've also had the pleasure of doing covers for like TR Napper, for, like indie debuts, a bunch of people. And so it's been really, really fun. And now it's kind of gotten to the point where like Grimdark Magazine offered me a job to essentially lead their entire line of novellas. So if anyone doesn't know, like Grimdark Magazine, awesome website with like great blog content and stuff like that, and reviews. PL being one of the reviewers over there. They do amazing work, but they've also published 3 novellas so far. So there's In the Shadow of Their Dying by Michael R. Fletcher and Anna Smith Spark. There's Cast and Gain by Essa Hansen, and then The Scour by Richard Swan. And so those are 3 novellas in their novella line. And basically I've been brought on to lead the entirety of the novella line going forward. And our first project, we just revealed the cover earlier this week, which is Fortune's Wake by C.L. Clark. And so it's kind of like, dude, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, man, it's wild, because it's basically like all these different skills that I accrued in various places. So it was like, I decided I need to do Mushroom Blues on my own, and did that. And so I learned how to create a book that way. But then there's also everything I learned from tattooing and illustrating and graphic design kind of infused in there. But then there's everything I've done through the podcast, which is like community building and networking and developing relationships and friendships with people in the community. And, a big one being like actual authors, who are the people that it's like, hey, I want to publish you, you know what I mean? Which is like, I want to publish one of your stories, kind of thing. And all of this just kind of like coalescing into, and then on top of that, like doing Kickstarter stuff with the Book of Spores, and kind of understanding a little bit more about like project management, and even through my own books, like understanding how marketing can work in the digital age and things like that. So the reveal that we did on last Wednesday was like Grimdark Magazine's first experiment with me saying like, don't do an exclusive reveal on Grimdark Magazine, because exclusive reveals don't work anymore unless you're Tor or Orbit or one of the big publishers who already has like a pre-built platform of significant size, or in like Tor's case has Reactor Magazine where they can do these huge reveals and stuff like that, right? Or like the big publishers can reach out to websites like Polygon or IO9 and these different places, right? And kind of more easily sustain that sort of marketing system. So me saying to Adrian, the head of Grimdark, and basically being like, we need a street team. We need to utilize social media. exclusivity doesn't matter anymore. We need to approach this cover reveal like we're releasing an indie book. And, you know, from my perspective, it worked out way better than it would have otherwise. And I'm super happy with that. So it's like taking the marketing skills that I've learned from self-publishing my own books and starting to be like, okay, how can we incorporate some of these ideas into Grimdark magazine such that like the coverage of this cover reveal is going to be like literally everywhere for an entire day. People are not going to stop shutting up about this cover. And, you know, C.L. Clark, the author, is just going to be bombarded with messages all day, you know? But when she sends me a message at the end of the day, being like, can't stop fucking smiling, you know what I mean? Like that to me is a sign of a good cover.
CL is awesome on top of that. It just makes it easy.
Yeah. Sheree is amazing. And so those kinds of approaches, like all of that just kind of like coalescing into a single job is really, really cool. And for me to help Grimdark kind of get to a stage of, you know, the novellas and everything that we're doing, kind of reaching this this next level where it's kind of filling the gap that like Tor.com has kind of been neglecting for quite some time, right? And be like, people love novellas. Like, let's cater to that niche in the market and offer people something really awesome, give them new stories from authors that they love, and kind of use that to just kind of build this this sort of like publishing engine behind the scenes, right?
And that's probably, I'm going to quickly put up, shout out to Lucas Clay. Hey, buddy, thanks so much for coming out, Lucas, and checking out Adrian and Six Elementals. Always great to see you. Same for another.
Mike Cahoon's here too. Hi, Mike.
What's up, buddy? Again, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mike, wonderful, wonderful gent. And
can't agree more with that. Freedom to innovate and grow how you want is invaluable. And I think that is like the biggest takeaway I've had from self-publishing. And, you know, not even just on like a narrative level, because you can be really experimental with your stories, but like I really encourage people to get more innovative with their books. And, you know, whether it's the cover and the interior, I usually like encourage like and the interior, because I think like we have the ability to produce books that like put Trad Pub stuff to shame. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? I have to say, when I saw that announcement, I just was like, you are so dynamic. You're so intelligent. You're so creative. You're just, you know, I'm like, wow, Adrian is going to help take Grimdark magazine to another level. So
I hope so, man. Awesome. But the team is amazing though. Like it's been really awesome. And the great thing is like, you know, Adrian was asking me, you know, how's it been kind of like transitioning into the, I'm like, dude, it was like putting on like a leather boot that I've worn in years ago. You know what I mean? It was like, I literally know like 50% of the people on the team, you know, like more that I have like, you know, an association with, or just kind of like know from the internet, but like even more, you know, the people that I have like an in-depth, deep relationship with, like you and Crystal and Esme and people like that. And like, dude, it was literally like the easiest job transition I've ever had, you know?
We are so excited that you're on board, Adrian. Like I said, I know you're just going to help Adrian Collins and everyone else that works with you. You're just going to help, and all the authors, everybody involved, take this to another level, which you're already doing. You're already proving in just so short time. So I'm like, wow, just wait, just watch Grimdark magazine. Just watch, folks. Just watch.
Yeah.
But on top of all of this, you also still maintain and are part of and a founding member and originator of one of the biggest, you know, blog sites and YouTube entities out there in terms of interviews and reviews in SFF Addicts. So, like, bro, like, and you said at the beginning of the, and I one of the things I admire about you is like you're such a great family person. And you talk about your full-time job being a father, you know, that's your main gig. But, you know, man, like you have a lot on the go. And going back to one of the first areas where you really delved into, and that was being, you know, an award-winning podcaster, right? And the things that SFF Addicts is doing now, like, whoa, Like again, taking things to another level. What's going on there? Like, what's up, man? Like, what's up with that?
I mean, just I don't know. It's like everything else I'm doing. I'm not. I mean, I've talked to my friend Eleni Arguero about this. She's over at Before We Go blog, and she also was my co-editor on the Book of Spores, and she was just like, there are times where it's just like I'll say something and it'll just be a joke of just like, oh man, I finally got to rest, and she was like, when the hell do you ever rest? And like, it's just it's one of those things where I work best when I'm able to like juggle projects, if that makes sense, in order to kind of maintain momentum and not get too bogged down in like any one thing. And so, like with writing, it's like there are times where I'm like, okay, this scene is kicking my ass and I need to like take a break from it. You know what I mean? And I've gotten like way better about, especially since writing Mushroom Blues, because when I wrote Mushroom Blues, it was like very unsustainable the way that I was writing that. And I look back at creating that book and I'm like, okay, that was not something I ever want to repeat. Because it was like all consuming, and I was still doing SFF Addicts at the same time, which was fine and everything like that, but I think that kind of like impeded on my family life and everything like that. And so like after Mushroom Blues released and like the 2 years that has passed, I've just like developed a much more sustainable creative routine in general, where I'm at home with my 3-year-old and he's awesome, and me and him hang out, and there are times where it's like, cool, I usually like write in the morning because that's just the time when my mind is fresh and I feel a little bit more invigorated, a little bit more focused and everything like that. And so it's like, okay, me and my son are hanging out. I drop off my oldest at school at like 8:30, back home soon after that. And I'm like, cool, man, we got like 4 hours to just kick it together. And, until we have to make lunch. And so it's like, I can give myself like an hour or two in that space to, he's playing around me and he's very independent, and I'll write while he's with me, and if we get distracted or he needs something, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like Mushroom Blues, I was so focused where it was like any distraction was just, I felt like I was like someone was slapping me across the face kind of thing. But with A Murder Most Fungal, like everything, like The Stem Cutter's Daughter, the novelette that I wrote for the Book of Spores, those stories came like much more naturally, and they developed in a much healthier way because of the way that I was writing them, because it wasn't, it didn't feel like everything else in my life was a burden to the creation of the story. It felt like my story was being created in conjunction with the rest of my life. And stuff to do.
So
I think I froze for a second. Yeah. All the other stuff that I do. So it's like, I'll usually do writing in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I'll, work on random stuff. Usually that's when I do like graphic design and things like that. And then in the evenings is when I'll, edit the podcast and do like interior formatting and things that don't necessarily require, not to say that they're brainless, but they just require less focus and less sort of like mental energy to do these things, where it's like I can like listen to a podcast and format a book at the same time, right? And those things being kind of designated to these sort of like periods of time throughout my day made it much easier for me to manage multiple things at once. And also, say like I wrote half a scene one morning and then I did all that other stuff throughout the rest of the day, and then hang out with my wife in the evening. I wake up the next morning and be like, I had that entire rest of the day to think about how to fix that thing that I had so many problems with. Right. And so I wake up the next morning, I'm like, boom, scene's done. And just kind of allowed that ebb and flow to create a much more natural momentum in everything that I was doing. And so it's like, okay, for the podcast, like MJ and Greta and I have gotten really good at backlogging episodes. So we'll be like, okay, an episode's coming out in June. We recorded that in April, right? Like we're not stressing so much about when things are happening, because, you know, we've worked on developing a more sort of like seamless system between the three of us where, okay, like MJ's had a lot happening this year, like job stuff. She's moving to a new house and all this kind of thing. She hasn't been able to do as many episodes with us recently. So it's like, cool. There are three of us. Two of us can jump in the ring. We can handle this interview. Awesome. There have even been like a couple interviews where I did them solo, and I'm like, that's totally fine. It's not like this interview is just like dissipated into like into the ether or anything like that. Like it still got done, right? And so everything has basically been about streamlining systems and streamlining routines to the point where it's like nothing feels overwhelming because everything is accruing piecemeal. And that to me is kind of like, you know, the biggest lesson from writing a book is that like a book is just, for me at least, is not like a sprint, right? A book is like, you know, stratigraphy of like geological forces that are like accruing these layers of story, and eventually it'll get to a point where I'm like, cool, we're at the top layer and I can give this to you now, right? Or I can give it to my editor and like my beta readers and things like that. But the same thing for podcasting, the same thing for design and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, okay, if I have this due date in mind for a particular project, I'm going to just work on chunks of it over the course of like 2 weeks. And I know relatively how much time I need to do each chunk. Cool. Then I'm just going to be like, all right, 1 week I can get like 50% done. And the next week I can get the other 50% done. And then it's done. So.
Well, I think one of the things that, well, I mean, people know because, you know, you're such an integral part of the community. You're so well respected and loved. I mean, one thing I think you're underrated for, which I think perhaps is coming to the forefront, is you're an excellent leader and you know how to surround yourself with great people. So I think that's a big part of your success. I'm sure you'd probably say, and you know how to draw the best out of people, and people just want to work with you. People just want to work with you, follow you, you know, be in partnerships with you, and just that's the kind of person you are, right? You attract, you know, good people. So you know, but I have learned so much from you personally. Obviously, I look up to you in a lot of ways, and you know, all I can say, man, is just continued success. I know what's going to happen because it's you, but you know, you're one of the people out there that, you know, as much times I say, how does he do it all? How does he reach all these heights? You know, in so many areas, you know, you so well. But then at the same time, the one thing I'm always conscious of is of how hard you work and how much you deserve it. So all I can say is, you know, proud of you, man. Proud of you, brother. You know, you deserve it all. So I know this success is just going to continue. So I know I can keep you here all day, obviously, but I know it's getting late. You know, the thing is,
you got some unpacking to do, don't you?
Yeah, and it's like you know, 10:30, whatever. But
yeah,
I do want to give you an opportunity as we're winding down. Blast out those social media things. Anything you want to say about the books, release dates, Kickstarters, you know, anything that you wanna kind of boost in terms of the world of Adrian M. Gibson.
Sure, man. First of all, thank you for having me. I always appreciate hanging out with you.
Honor.
I'm excited to see you again in person. Fingers crossed, I'll be able to do Montreal in 2027 for Worldcon.
Man, you gotta do it, brother.
That's like, it's not necessarily your backyard. It's not necessarily your backyard, but it's like it's close enough. Yeah. And yeah, like I'm Canadian as well, so I can like bring my tattooing stuff and not have to deal with TSA or any of that shit. You can find me all across social media at Adrian M. Gibson. Instagram's kind of my go-to. The rest is more or less just like I'll post stuff there, but don't necessarily interact there as much. My website is adrianmgibson.com. You can head over there and I have, you know, links to all my books. I have my newsletter that you can sign up for. I've got extras like, you know, maps and artwork from the FUNGALVERSE. Got all my design portfolio there as well. And then if you want to go there and just like, you know, get quick links to all my social media, you can check that out as well. Then you can follow SFF Addicts at SFF Addicts Pod on social media. You can check out all of our episodes. There are new ones every Tuesday. And you can check that out on YouTube. That's at FanFiAddict. So we're hosted on the FanFiAddict channel. But then you can also watch it in video on Spotify, and you can listen on whatever, podcast platform you listen to, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, whatever it may be, kind of thing. And then on top of that, Mushroom Blues, of course.
Yes.
You can go check out Mushroom Blues wherever books are sold. This is available in all formats. So if you do want to listen in audiobook, the audiobook is available, narrated by Imogen Church, and she did an incredible job with this book. And then you can go check out A Murder Most Fungal, which is out in 3 days, in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. That's June 16th. And that one you can pre-order on Amazon in ebook. Paperback and hardcover will be available on Amazon day one. But then if you want to, you can also get signed hardcovers over at the Broken Binding. And if you haven't read Mushroom Blues but want to check out both of them, the Broken Binding is doing like a 2-book deal, sort of like a bundle. So you can get like the Hoffman Report bundle. That's over on thebrokenbinding.co.uk. And if you get the bundle, you have like a bit of a discount as well, which is really, really nice of the crew over there to do. And then, just like look forward to more stuff from me in the coming months. I'm working on a graphic novel with a friend of mine, collaborating on a FUNGALVERSE audio drama with another friend of mine, and putting together a Kickstarter, which I will tell PL about once we're off air, but none of you will get to hear about it for another few months.
All right, guys, eat your heart out. I get the good.
Oh, he gets the scoop, man. He gets the scoop. We talk about my fungal chef. He gets the scoop. But yeah, man, that's me. Also, Fortune's Wake by C.L. Clark, my first project with Grimdark Magazine. That's out on August 24th. So go pre-order that. Check it out. Cover is available to peruse. It's a beaut. So look forward to that in a couple months as well.
Just go immerse yourself, folks, in the Adrian M. Gibson universe. All things Adrian.
Oh yeah, man. The Fungalverse is, my mindset from the beginning has been like, this is going to become like an expanded universe type thing. So
I believe it. It is the next MCU, I feel. Mike, that sounds like incredible graphic novel.
I mean, MCU is actually like the perfect acronym, like the Mushroom Cinematic Universe. There you go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listen, man, thanks so much again for it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, always love
talk with you quickly. From my shameless self-promotion, PL Stewart at PL Stewart Right, all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, etc. Website plstewart.com. Author Drunk Kingdom Saga. 6 elemental interviews featured here on my channel, The Drunk Kingdom Saga. Where I get to interview marvelous people such as Adrian. Page chewing umbrella with Taylor from Make Two Pages. Brilliant. Check out our channel. We do the page chewing interview series. I'm also a member of both the Before Go blog and Grimdark Magazine. Shout out to all the peeps on both of those. Finally, the books. Drunk Kingdom Saga, 7-book series, 6 books out. The most recent one, A Black Dragon on Red, came out just a while ago, and the final book 7, Shristiel, is coming early in 2020.
Watch out, Joe Byrne. You got competition.
Well, I can't keep up with Joe, man. Joe is like we started on. That man is a freaking machine.
He is a machine.
Short story in the Shapers World Anthology, Force Dark, my first foray into fantasy horror, and it is linked to my Drunk Kingdom universe. But check out this amazing anthology. People like MJ Kuhn have stories in this, and
shout out to Ed over at World Shapers as well.
Yeah, Ed, award-winning podcaster for the World Shapers, and we put together 5 of these anthologies with some brilliant authors. So check out all these anthologies. And finally, like Adrian, I as well have been blessed to have special editions of the first 2 books of the A Drowned Kingdom and The Last of the Atlanteans in a 2-pack with the Broken Binding. Check them out. Whew.
Yeah.
So once again, Adrian M. Gibson, multi-talented, multifaceted, brilliant, creative, and just a wonderful, one of my favorite people. Love you, bro. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you, man.
You'll be back, of course. You know that. And everyone check out everything that he does. Book of Sports Anthology. We had a separate live about that with Eleni.
Yeah, back in December.
Check that's
yeah.
in the playlist. Check that out. And of course, coming soon on Murder Most Fungal. Go get that.
3 days, people. 3 days.
3 days. Go check and the SBFBO essentially winning Mushroom Blues in contention for my book of the year. You want to read something brilliant and innovative?
Thanks, man.
Read that. It is absolutely fabulous. All right, folks. Adrian and I are signing off. Peace.
Bye.
Bye now.